Hey guys, let's talk about PoE 1. It hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, so I have to head out to catch a plane for Melbourne in just a few minutes, and I wanted to throw out some quick thoughts about the PoE 1 thing. I talked about it on stream a bit, I've talked about it on Twitter a bit as well. So this is going to be a bit incoherent because I'm trying to speedrun it and get out of here. But yes, there is finally news and talk about PoE 1, and it is, of course, that it is delayed or like uncertain as to when it's going to be, essentially. By delayed, we mean we were told we'd know more about it by around January, maybe February, for kind of a launch, is what we would somewhat teased as, because I don't remember exactly what happened, but a lot of us were kind of implied that it was supposed to be around February. And that's not happening. So a video did come out yesterday from Jonathan at GG about what's happening with Path of Exile 1. So they finally said something by the end of January, and it wasn't good news for anyone that cared about PoE 1, because basically they said that so much resources and so much time had been dedicated towards PoE 2 and the early access and the end game and the everything that yeah, I mean, it's all him, that they couldn't really, as far as we can even tell from the wording of the video, they haven't really even started PoE 1 3.26, which is a bit of some news. We were hoping that at least it'd be somewhere close, or they're working on it. But apparently nothing's really even started because they have had to put so much work into PoE 2, getting it online, getting stuff fixed up. And in the end, it means that we don't know when PoE 1 is going to be relevant to our lives again. Now, my thoughts on that, pretty heartbreaking. Like, obviously, I still, for everyone that always asks, am I going to play PoE 1 or 2 or whatever, I still want to play both at the moment. PoE 1, in my opinion, still the top ARPG in the genre by a good distance. And then PoE 2 has the makings of something that can become that. It's just, it'll take time, it'll take work. So we know that PoE 2 is in early access. We know that it'll take a while before it gets fully brought up to its, full release potential. And then on top of that, the sum of a PoE 1 parts is many years of leagues and crafting added to the game through those leagues, and I expect the same thing to be with PoE 2. So if we say PoE 2 is coming out in, let's say, from here on now, let's just say 1 year, I wouldn't expect PoE 2 to be the top ARPG until like another year from that, at minimum. So PoE 1 is still very relevant to all of our lives, yes. So I was looking forward to it. I wanted to play the next league, and it's disappointing. Like, I'm not, I don't think it's the end of the world. So if you've seen a lot of people and the particular Reddit, you think that it might be the end of the world. I don't think it's quite that. I don't think they're like pulling the rug and discontinuing PoE 1 altogether. It still definitely sounds like they're going to put out a pretty worth playing and somewhat large 3.26 when they can, especially with potentially the fiasco that's been happening. They want to fulfill some PoE 1 sort of wishes for people, and I still expect that to happen. It's just anyone's guess as to when that could be. It could be like, March, April, May, maybe even later. Who the fuck knows? So that's pretty disappointing not having a timeline for that. So the sky isn't falling, I don't think, and I don't think you should feel that way either. But you should also have some empathy for people that only really care about PoE 1, only really care about that game coming out every 3 months, big update every 3 months, sometimes big expansion every 6 to 12 months, something like that. For them, like, this has been a pretty bad outcome, like, overall for the past year or so. So have some empathy for those types of people. I understand where some people with their frustrations may be coming from. For a lot of us, PoE 2 came out and we had a lot of fun and we kept playing, and it was a pretty good thing. And it's understandable why PoE 1 resources went to PoE 2, and it's okay. And there'll be time. For a lot of people, they tried PoE 2 and they went, well, this isn't at all what I like compared to my PoE 1, and I don't think it ever will be. Where am I left standing with my PoE 1s? Nowhere. And that feels pretty fucking terrible, because you've very much been forgotten about up till this point, because they just had to keep pushing deadlines and dates and announcements and stuff down the road until we're at this point where Jonathan's basically saying, we still don't really know what's happening with PoE 1 and we have nothing to tell you because we're just still focusing on PoE 2. That feels pretty bad for those people. My one sort of thing I will say, let me get back into personal mode. My one sort of thing I will say is the sort of glass half full thing you can look at if you're someone that's been playing PoE 1 like me for 10 years. Try to take it as an opportunity to step away from PoE for a little bit. Like, had, you know, they just kept going every 3 months for the next 50 years, I'd probably be playing it every 3 months for the next 50 years. And for the past 10 years, I've been doing that. And my life has basically non-stop been every 3 months, PoE, a lot of PoE, take a small step back, more PoE, etc. This is your chance to kind of like, you know, just have an actual breather from PoE and come back when they've got something worth for you to come back to. So you don't have to like, you know, throw it away and say, oh, this game sucks and it's never anything. They left PoE 1 in, I think, the best state it's ever been in with the Settlers of Cowgirl League. That's like a really cool league, and the game balance and state was as good as it's ever been. We just need another fresh update to, you know, keep enjoying the game. So it's actually in a really good state. It's just that, you know, we have to wait for a reason to come back, and there will be a reason to come back. I think. I don't think it's copium. It's just kind of an expected outcome to say that that they'll have another league. If they at some point for this one at the very least, if they say, oh, we're not, you know, going to bother with it anymore, it's going to hurt them a lot. So maybe in the future, with more PoE 2 stuff and more resources going there and less reason to support PoE 1, they'll eventually say, listen guys, we don't think it's worth doing PoE 1 anymore, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. I've always stated that PoE 2 is a good opportunity for a second revenue source, not to replace their current revenue source. It is well in their interest to make a banger of a PoE 2 game, have two very sort of different games, but bring in a whole new audience for that PoE 2 that might also bleed into PoE 1, and then have two sets of supporter packs and two sets of releases happening simultaneously, because that is going to maximize their profits in their business. So that's how I've always seen it, and that's how I see it until it's super not worth focusing on PoE 1 anymore, and they've fulfilled as many promises as they can, and then maybe it might get scrapped. So if you're thinking, oh, it's all over, PoE 1 had a good run, fucking we're doomed now, I think it's way too early for that, and I think you're still going to get plenty of good PoE 1 in the future. The problem is that, yes, a lot of people are pretty sick and tired of just hearing stuff like, it'll be 3 weeks, whoops, it's 5 weeks, oh, it'll be, you know, January, oh, it's February. Like, the biggest frustration, I think, for a lot of the community, and I feel it as well, is pretty much whenever we hear them speak at this point, we know that those timelines are wrong. So what kind of grade A copium are they on to promise these timelines time and time again, or at least even give them? And let's not say promise. It's like, oh yeah, it'll be, you know, this, likely this, or even in the video, Jonathan's like, we will have to do PoE 2 at some point, and then likely a couple weeks after that. As soon as you heard that, it sucks that this is the reality. As soon as you heard that, you just went, it's going to be longer than that. It's going to be like 4 weeks, 5 weeks at least. What do you want about? How can you say 2 weeks? So the fact that they keep doing these sorts of timelines, and then you just know that they're not going to be able to fulfill them, I don't know how they can keep doing that. Like, there's only so many, yep, we messed up, we can, you know, take, as far as good grace is concerned, before you get really frustrated. So at the end of the day, don't get too frustrated because it's a video game. Like, step away, don't play it if it's not worth playing. If there's something in front of you that's worth playing, come in and play it. But you shouldn't like feel as though they really owe you anything as such right now, because every single one of your supporter packs that you've bought has been for the game up to that point. Like, hey, loved what you've done, here's some money. It's not necessarily, hey, here's a bunch of money, make more of this exact good thing. That's the ideal circumstance where you're thinking about it that way, but it's not like how it's been, especially knowing where they're taking directions. They're a very experimental company. They're a very, you know, hands-on with their game, where they want to try different things, and sometimes they fail, sometimes they don't. PoE 2 is a very experimental thing, and at the end of the day, it might fail. because it might just not retain the right audience and it might not have the right set of end game that has the replayability. But they're experimenting, they're trying things. So that's kind of more or less what you've paid for. And otherwise retroactively for everything you played up to that point. I think this has been very incoherent because I'm really trying to get out of here and my thoughts are all over the place. So the long story short is, yes, I'm disappointed, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Yes, I'm pretty, fed up with just constantly being like strung along for stuff like this and these messages. Yeah, we don't really take them very much at face value anymore, do we? Because how can you, from everything that you've been told and then everything that unfolds after that? I still want to give benefit of the doubt as much as possible because there's still good products in front of me. Like I said, the last thing that PoE 1 was left with was, I think, the healthiest state PoE 1 has ever been in. And then PoE 2, for me, it is pretty good. It just needs more work. It just needs more time. The other thing I'll say is I think a lot of people are frustrated because they're not getting as fast development on PoE 2 as they would have hoped for. I think, we all would have been like, thinking, oh, every couple of weeks, pretty nice balance patch or some update or something. And instead, it's it's stagnating a little, and there's probably just going to be big releases in chunks that doesn't really keep you as busy as you'd like to be kept busy. So yeah, that's kind of the opinions. I feel a lot of the community smudge. I think a lot of people that are just like, oh wow, I've been betrayed and this is all over, and PoE 1 just they've killed it and they're never going to do anything with it again. I think that's an overreaction, but I also absolutely understand, and I want you to have empathy with the people that don't really like PoE 2 and just want more of PoE 1. Because if you look from their point of view, you'll understand that it's been a pretty shit, almost past 1 year, maybe like 7, 8 months, something like that. And for the foreseeable future, it might still be shit. Like if your favorite game is just kind of stood still when it's always been at a pace, it's gonna feel pretty bad. So anyway, not sure if I need to mention anything else. Just yeah, I don't know. Try not to take it too hard because at the end of the day, like I said, it's a video game and a business. If there's a product and a game in front of you that is worth playing and good, play it. If it's not, it's as simple as just step away, take a deep breath, and come back when it is worth it. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.